אפשר? טוב, we're learning this evening the Teichen of the Sicha המפורסמת והידוע של הרבי שנאמרה בשבת זין אלול שכך תש"ן א' ובזה הרבי להשתמש I'm sorry, wait a minute, I'm talking the wrong language. We could say that the Rebbe dropped a very amazing bomb. You're not allowed to do that on Shabbos, but that's what actually happened. A Sikha which had a very explosive effect on all those who heard it and all those who became exposed to the message at the Sikha. So it's a very remarkable and it's very sort of different than the flow of the Sikha we've had about. It's a, what do you call it, a barak bayom bahir, you know, it's like a lightning flash in a clear day, you know, it's very, very amazing. So we'll do the best we can to get over the amazing message which is hidden in the Sikha. So we're learning on Thursday night, Oyer le Gimel Elul Tovshin Zion, and the Shira is taking place in the Beit Knesset at Shoftim Be'ir HaKodesh Tsfat B'Artzeinu HaKadosh. So, as is customary, I just want to make a few introductory remarks which will help us before we actually get down to the actual details, and that is that the Rebbe builds here tremendously, it's massively built on the chapter of the Rambam in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah B'negeh to Nevuah. The Rambam is a whole long chapter B'negeh to Nevuah, in which he paskins a ribui dinim B'negeh to prophecy. And what is very noticeable and what comes out very much in the Sikha is that the Rambam doesn't, even though the Gemara says that after the Nevi'im Achreinim that they were in the time of Bayis Sheni, Posca HaNevuah Yisrael, that until further notice, it's not written the word Posca, Slicha, Yistalka HaNevuah Yisrael. Yistalka is written a lot, not Posca, Yistalka HaNevuah Yisrael. The Rambam in the whole chapter does not mention that whole inyan, and he just says that any time, any place, and any day there can be a Novi if he meets the qualifications required for a Novi. And he doesn't mention almost at all the whole in the Yad HaChazor, in the great Halakhic work, the fact that there will be a time when the Nevuah, he doesn't go into that, which implies very readily that the Rambam learns that Nevuah is a spiritual fact by the Jewish people, which albeit requires certain qualifications on the part of certain people to be named, what you might call officially as Nevi'im, but that's all. As long as those conditions, plus certain other halakhic questions that can arise, as long as those conditions are fulfilled, then there can be a Novi literally any time. And the Rambam only refers to this idea that maybe the Nevuah needs to come back to the Jewish people in a famous letter that he wrote close to Sof Yomo. The Rambam wrote a Nigeras Taimon, a public letter to the community in Taimon, and there in Nigeras Taimon, the Rambam uses the expression that the Nebuah has already come back. He says over there that the Nebuah has already come back to the Jewish people, and from that, from the Lashon over there, and from the whole way that he brings it in the halachas in the Yad HaChazaka, it would appear that the Rambam learns that there was maybe a certain period of time where, due to historical factors and tremendous pressures on the Jewish people, and so it wasn't so easy for somebody to fulfill or to find somebody in a situation. And that's why, but not that there was no possibility. And therefore the word used by the Gemara is Histalka HaNevuah. And so the Rebbe is medactic that the word Listalik means that to go up and sort of not be Melubash in the Kalim. That doesn't mean to just disappear or go away or be interrupted for that matter. It's just gone a little bit higher than the present state of the Kalim. And therefore it's not written Posca HaNevuah v'chulu v'chulu. And then later we find that it's mashma that the great Talmidei of Baal Shem Tov, they considered that with the Baal Shem Tov there was already a clear return of the Nebuah to Israel, and it's mashma that certain members of the Talmidei of Baal Shem Tov were considered by the Talmidei of Baal Shem Tov Nevi'im, and later the Rebbe says that all of our Rebbeim, beginning with the Alter Rebbe, all the way through to the Frierdiker Rebbe, inclusive, are all Nevi'im. They were all, they all fitted all the necessary qualities, and they were Nevi'im. And then the Rebbe says a very amazing, which I don't know if we're going to get that far, therefore I want to get it in. The Rebbe brings down a halacha in the Rambam, where the Rambam says if you already have a Novi, what he is a Novi according to all the qualifications of the halacha, if he says about another person that he's also a Novi, then he doesn't need any more qualification. That means to say, you don't need to be boidik this person. Does he have all the qualifications? Whatever he says can be considered Nebuah, because a Novi said that he's a Novi. It's an amazing halacha. And it's well known that the Frierdiker Rebbe said once about the Rebbe, that he has milas like a Novi. Yeah. Oh yeah, very early when the Rebbe came to America, the Frierdiker Rebbe used that expression about the Rebbe. So the Rebbe, all of a sudden, like a lightning flash in the middle, well, it's not the middle, it's getting towards the end of the Sikha, the Rebbe says that all the Rebbeim, including the Frierdiker Rebbe, all Nevi'im, and then he said, it's well known the halacha that somebody, a Novi, who is already accepted as a Novi, who says about another person that he's a Novi, then he's a Novi, he doesn't need any further proof or qualifications. And the Rebbe says then that all that the Frierdiker Rebbe established with his being a Novi was carried on into the next generation. So he said, carried on to the next generation. And then he says, of course, Adidei Talmidov, you know, but it's pretty clear, you know, it's very, and it's sort of, it doesn't quite fit, you know, mamish into the flow of the Sikha. It's like a sort of a lightning flash all the time. So we see then that the Rebbe builds a tremendous case that the Nebuah never really interrupted or ceased. Prophecy never interrupted or ceased by the Jewish people. Do you have your page? It never interrupted. All that happened was that maybe maximum we could say that it was mistalek. How do you call it? It sort of left the Kalim for a while due to circumstances of the Golas and all the terrible Nidunim that the Jewish people went through. And it's amazing. The Rambam writes at the end of the Igeres Taimon, the Rambam writes that there's a person in their generation that he considers him a Novi. The Rambam says about a certain person, I've forgotten exactly what his name was, of the Rambam says about him that he believes that he has the qualifications of a Novi. So that was in the Rambam style. Yeah. And then there's another one of the Bali Teisvers, that he was blind. He was called Rabbeinu Yitzchak Sagi Nahor, I think his name was Yitzchak, I think. And he was blind, Rahmanin Atlan, in his later years. And they say that he had the koiches of a Novi. He was mamish a Novi. And it's brought down in certain Sfarim that he was accepted by all the Rishonim in that time as being a Novi. Even though they differed with one another on certain, but they were all what you might call in unison about this particular person. And the Rebbe's got in another Sikha about this person. And the Rebbe's got a huge long footnote about the life story of this person. And he was considered a Novi, and that was in the time of the Balei HaTesvos. That was in the Middle Ages. So we see from that the Rambam clearly does not consider that there was any time that it wasn't Shaykh Nevuah of Israel. It could be that maybe you stalk it due to circumstances, but it's always there and it's always Shaykh. And so what the Rebbe virtually says is that you've got to realize that all of our Rebbeim fitted the bill of a Mamish, and then he said that the Frierdiker Rebbe, he was the Novi of that generation, and therefore right at the end of the Sikha, but I just want to get in before I start, because we usually don't get that far, is the Rebbe says that it's a mitzvah to go out and be mafasing to all the Bnei Hador, that there's a Novi, and that you have to listen to him. There's a mitzvah in the Parsha that you must listen to a Novi, and he's got all the requirements of a Novi, and we can see in all sorts of things happen with the Frierdiker Rebbe that it's provable from all points in practice that he was a Novi, and therefore it's a mitzvah to spread it around to all the people in the generation to know that the Nevuah has come back, if we consider it as not having been there. But if we don't consider it, this means that we have Navi. Yeah, that's basically the main sort of message at a Sikha, and it's absolutely remarkable in its frankness. Towards the end of the Sikha, it becomes tremendously pointed, and the Rebbe says things that don't usually occur with that pointedness, in other Sikhas. As the old saying has it in English, he calls a spade a spade. It's well known that sometimes the Rebbe avoided that for all sorts of, but here, particularly in the latter part of the Sikha, he calls a spade a spade. All right, here we go. Klolas Hashicha v'yisekes be'inyan ha'yud v'oshiva shoytayik k'vorishayna v'yoyetayik k'vatchila. Now that's in what we call the Navi HaGeula. That's in Yeshaya Navi. And the interesting thing, that's in Perek Rishon. That's in the Haftarah that's read on Shabbos Chazon. There it's written, and we say in Shemon Esrei every day of the week, we say 3 times a day, Hoshiva Shofteinu, Kavorishenu Ve'yotzenu, Kavatchila. We use that language. So it asks itself the question, what's the difference between Shevet and Yoyet? And how does that relate to the fact that in the Parsha, it says Shoftim v'Shotrim. It doesn't mention the word Yoel. So the Rebbe says, Shenema al Yosid Loved. That's written in reference to the Yeshaya Novi says that in reference to the Zman HaMashiach. Ubabiyah HaMashmois HaPinimis Binyan Zeh. The Sikh also deals at great length with the Mashmois Pinimias, meaning to say, how does that affect the Odom in his everyday relationship with the Eibishter and in his Avodah. Dargas Avodas Hashem, Sheyoichazu Am Yisrael Av. That what are the Yidden going to be holding and what's their main Avodah at the time of the Geulah, when the Geulah will actually be coming, what are they going to be holding? So he said, Zois Toich Hashwar, Hashwar is Loshan HaPosik Hanal, the Yumas HaPosik Hanel, Parshas Shoftim, and that's all going to be discussed from the together with comparison between that posik that Yeshaya says and the posik written in our parsha, Shoftim v'Shotrim. So we see that Yeshaya never uses the expression Shoftim v'Yotzim. But in the parsha, the first posik says Shoftim v'Shotrim. Tinel b'chol shi'orechem. כאשר תוך כדי דיון ושינויים שבין שני הפסוקים מובנת המשמעות הפנימיות שבייעוד זה. We'll come to understand the pneumius and what it means to us in our Avodas Hashem in the days prior, mamish, to the Geulah, but at the time of Erev HaGeulah. And he said, Hadgosha Chashuva Habo Kwa Bereshis Hasicha V'nishnet Shuv Bebiura Behem Sheikha. A very important emphasis that reoccurs the whole time in the Sikha. He al kach shekvar hayom nimtzoim anu bizman shokiyam yod zeh. The Rebbe says, oh, that yod or shiva shoftaya kevora shoino v'yotzah kvatchila. We are now at a point in history where we're standing and we're ready for the kiyum of that promise. And we're going to see even more than that in order to learn emes pshat in what Yeshaya Novi said, you're going to have to say that even before the Geulah arrives, there's already a beginning of certain parts of that promise that they already are appearing and they're already noticeable in our life. So he said, Nimtzoim one of his man shokim yodeh, ukfa yesh es tchilo. So, that's what I'm emphasizing. There's already the beginning of this promise. It's already a beginning to occur before the actual Geulah will occur. So he says, Umokel lazev b'divrei Rambam b'pirush HaMishnayos. עכשיו, בפירוש HaMishnayos, I'm not sure, but in the Igeres Taimon, maybe in the long Hakdama that the Rambam wrote in the Hakdamot, at the beginning of Masechet Brachos, he writes a long Hakdama to his whole Pirush. Maybe over there he mentions that. Al Kaponim, the Rambam says, Shekiyum Yodze Yeh Oid Koidam. That will be before Ach Besomok L'Biyas HaMashiach. Now that's the Rambam himself. He says that this Oshiva Shoftai Kavod Hashem V'Yoter Chabad Tsfat, that will begin already close to the time of the actual coming of Mashiach. Yeah, you can look it up in Hora Shmone v'Hora 110 in the Sikha. Hevdel Ikri, says the Rebbe, bein Loshan HaPosik b'Parshasenu lebein Loshan HaPosik yehoisha b'kiyum ha'inyan liyosid lovi. So the Rebbe said the first main and principal difference between the Posik in our Parsha and the promise of Yeshaya Novi is that Parshasenu nema Shoftim v'Shotrim. Yeah? Ukapisha Mefarish Rashi is Masbir. What's the difference between Shoftim and Shotrim? So he says that Shoftim are those of the Dayonim of the Bati Din, of the different Bati Dinim. Poiskim as a din, they paskin what is the halacha al pitera. But Shotrim, haroidin as ha'om acham mitzvason, shemachim v'koiftin b'makel uberatzua ad she'yikabel alov as din ha'shoivet. In other words, that how do you call them? The Shotrim, they are people that their inyan is to make sure that the din that the Shoftim, Paskins, will be carried out l'maisa. And apparently there can be, and maybe there will be, certain periods in history where you'll need Shotrim. You'll need the Dayan, he's in the Bezdin, and he's a very learned and elevated individual, and he Paskins what is the din. Although he doesn't run after the guy to see if he's going to keep it or not. That's what the din is al pi Shulchan Aruch or al pi Kol HaMakodesh Shabbatera. That's the din. Avamela comes along the shoiter and he has to make sure that they keep it. And that was at a time when what we call Yad Beis Din Tekifa, that the Beis Din had a very clear control over Jewish life. That wasn't necessarily all the generation, but at certain times it was like that. The Shoitrim, their inyan was to make sure that people kept what the Shevet Pascha. So he said, Shikabel Lovas Dina Shevet. The Umazois, Biyuda, Geula, Nishmat, Haprat Shel Shoitim. When Yeshaya Navi says what's going to be before the Geula actually comes, then it's written Bimkom, Bimkoima, instead of Shoitrim, Moifia Inyanacher. Another musik altogether. Sheino Mofia Bapasik Bapashasenu. That doesn't occur in Parshas Shoftim. Yoatim. How do you call it? Yoatayim. So Yoatayim are not Shotrayim. They're not Shoftim. So the Rebbe said, why would there be such an alteration? Why, if Yeshaya Novi is hinting at the return in perfection of the whole situation of the control of Bezdin over Jewish life, why doesn't he mention the Shoitrim? And why does instead of that he call them Yoatzim? So the Rebbe said, Nakudas abiyu bezeh b'pashtasi le'osid lovei k'shetis battle metzia sarah. The Yosid Lovi, after, how do you call it, Moshiach will come, there's not going to be any more evil in practice. As lo yeh tzorah klal b'shoitrim, it's not going to be necessary. Sheyachricho es ha'am lekabel es tivui ha'shoitim, because it's going to be b'tachlis ha'pshitas by everybody that whatever the shoitim say, that's just going to be. Like the Alter Rebbe brings at the end of chapter 26 in the Geras HaKodesh. The Alter Rebbe brings down that it's going to be clear and obvious to everybody all the dinim of the Torah al pi nigla. Therefore, says the Rebbe, it's not going to be necessary to have people that will force people to keep what the Shevet said. Me'achav va'am Yisrael kulo yeh b'ta'ag ruchni es kazu, she'yikaimu me'atzmam es mitzvahs ha'torah, l'lei tzori b'kafiyah. They won't need to be obliged. They won't need to be forced. There won't be any necessity to, how do you call them, compel them, giving them a shmir. L'lei tzori b'kafiyah. וכמובן שהשייטים יהיו אף אחד. Shaitim for sure there'll be, because Shaitim is people who will paskin the emetzer dinim of Torah. So then there'll be l'heirois v'hadroches b'beit Hashem yehu michal el choyo b'kedusha guva. V'meri you'll need a shoivet, because we're going from one strength to the other the whole time. You'll need, indication and assistance. What is the direction? What is the way? Or you won't need somebody to come along and give you a thwack in order to get you to keep it. Everybody will just do it automatically. It follows Lafisa that we can say that the inyan of Shoftim is not an essential part of the actual mitzvah of Shoftim, Minoi HaShoftim. Or we can put it another way, it's not a mitzvah in its own right. Shoftim, it's just included in Shoftim, kasher yesh tzorech lakach, which means that the Shoftim, they're like a prat, they're like a detail inside the mitzvah of Shoftim, but they're not a mitzvah, and for sure they're not even a dover hechreki. They're not something, absolutely necessary. Therefore he says, inyan zeh, shekol inyonam, shal ha-Shoftim, hu rak kedei lidoig lakach, שבפועל יסקיימו הורי השופטים, אך אין בהם כל עניין עצמי עקרוני. They don't have a עצם דיקה situation of their own. They're only תלוי כל זמן that the shofet needs that. But he wouldn't chase after somebody with a shofet if he knew he'd already obeyed what he said. אבל מילא שלא כן, כשבפועל יקוימו הורי השופטים, אף פלאי השופטים, שוב לא יהיה צורך בהם. It won't be necessary to have the shoftim. Yeah? אבל Tomon אף פקח, so the Rebbe said, that's also hidden in another very interesting little fact, and that is that the Shem of the whole Parsha is Shoftim Bilbad. So if we're going to say that Shoftim is the Ika Inyan, that Shoftim is the Inyan which has to be, then it should be called Shoftim B'Shotrim. The fact that the whole Parsha is only called Shoftim is assuming that Shoftim is only a detail inside Shoftim, but it's not really a dover hechreki. It doesn't have to be. Apakach Hashem HaParsha hu Shoftim Bilbad, v'lo Shoftim B'Shotrim. Sharei l'choira Shem HaParsha ki yadua meira al toikno. The Shem of a Parsha indicates the Teichen of the Parsha. So if Shoftim was an essential part, it should also be part of the name of the Parsha. He said, V'arei chelem bilti nifrad min hatzivui hu al ha-Shoftim. Madua im kein inyan zeh lo yinegro b'shem ha-Parsha, ela zois ka'amu me'achav ha-dova einenu muchra b'yet. It's not a dova hechreki in the actual mitzvah of Shoftim B'Shotrim. Is that? Ya'adova einenu muchra b'etzem, Yevarak b'tei shebapuyel yiskayim in ha-Shoftim. That's why we need it. Yeshalolei shoita amaiti l'foyel es psachadin shuv ein lekol mashmoed. Or if the din of the shofar will be carried out b'lavochim on its own, then we don't need any shofar. There's no mashmoed in the whole inyan of shofar. So he said, mishum kach, gam lo yinimna minu ha-Shoftim b'minyan ha-mitzvah. Av chad doesn't count Shoftim as a mitzvah on its own right, which means that it's just a sort of a dependent part of Shoftim, but it's not a mitzvah of its own right. Ela nikla b'mitzvahs mini ha-Shoftim. It's included in the whole idea of mini ha-Shoftim. If you need it, then you need it. If you don't, then the ik is the Shoftim. Why does the Torah say Shoftim B'Shotrim? The Torah is talking in all the generations. If there's going to be a certain amount of time that when we're not going to need Shoftim, why does the Torah B'Klal mention it? Just have it at certain times, and the rest of the time you don't need it. So the Rebbe says a very interesting thing, and this is very, how do you call it, typical of the Rebbe's approach to everything. So the Rebbe says, Mavua b'Ha'orah 23, B'Sicha, Ki me'achav v'kol inyan ha'Torah heim nitzchiyam. Everything in the Torah is everlasting. Yeah, afilu dvarim she'enu begeret tzivui. I feel things which are not necessarily a commandment, but they're everlasting. So if it's mentioned, the Shoftim, then of course they're everlasting. And we're saying they're not. We're saying that they're not really necessary in certain parts of history. So how does that fit with a cloud that everything in Torah is netzchi? So you see the amazing how the Rebbe covers, to use the expression, he covers his tracks very, very amazingly. So the Rebbe said, Yesh Leman, this is a pili plus. Ki ochein af leyoset love iu gam shoitrim. The Rebbe says that the Parshas are not mashma like that, but he said we can suggest that even leyoset love there will be shoitrim. But ela shetafkidum yeh shoneh, their job will be quite different. It'll be lemal yusa, it'll all be in a good way. In what way? L'sayeh lebnei Yisrael b'kiyum inyoni beis din, to help people. The inyonim, not to force on them something, but to come along and assist them and help them to improve and be greater in the things that the Beis Din HaGodol, which will be in Jerusalem then, will be telling everybody. So some people might find it a little bit demanding in their avodas Hashem. The Shefer will help you out. He will, the Shoter will help you out. That's the way the Rebbe makes it. The Shotrim shouldn't be not nitzchi. Know what he said to them. Anyway, says the Rebbe, Behemshech lakach muvenas aisofa shebiyud hagiula. In light of what we've all just learned, then we'll understand why the Novi, the Gula, puts in the word Ya'atayir, al Pnei Anema b'Parshas Shoftim. Instead of the word Shotrayir, he puts in another word altogether, the Inifan Ya'atayir. Zois, me'acha ubigdei lahagir latakle shleimus abedas ha'odom. In order that a man should be able to reach the taklis of the shleimus in his aveda, what that's given by the shofet. The shofet fixes and decrees what you should do to serve Hashem properly. Keshemamela oz shuv ein tzareh b'shoiter. The people are looking to get the shleimus, then they're not going to need a shoiter. So he said, Drushim shnei inyonim, elu shoftim, however yoyatim, you'll need a shofet, but you'll need also a yoyat. Amavatim shnei kavim b'beit Hashem, and they represent two, they call it separate forms of b'beit Hashem. Sheyesh Torah b'shneihem ke'echad, v'echad mashlim es hasheni. We need both of them, and the second, perfects the first. So we're going to see that there's a shofet, and he's like a Rav Klali, and he fixes what should be the line in avodas Hashem. Then people have to have what the Rebbe called later, in later generations, the Rebbe called the mashpiyim. You have to have a mashpiyah. And the Rebbe, you have to have a yoyat. And what does the yoyat do? He doesn't talk like in high general terms like the shofet. He talks to you personally, and he helps you absorb what the shofet is saying. So it's a very clear picture in a way what the Rebbe built of the Rebbe and the mashpiyim. That is the Rebbe, and he fixed. But the Rebbe is very high, and he's shalom be'erev, he's mudal, and he paskins what should be the terror. How do I get that into my life, and how do I bring? I need a yoyat, and a yoyat is somebody that he talks to me directly, and I get from him eitzah, and an eitzah is a personal thing. It's not a ruling, but it's like a guidance in a personal way, and that's the inyan when you won't need shoitrim, but you will need yotim. You follow? So we don't need to give anybody a thwack with a stick anymore. All we have to do is give them an eitzah. We give them all we have to do is give him an eight. So the Rebbe says, Nakudas Ahinya. What is the inyan in like one word? So he says, I have over Parshas being Shoftim layoyed. Yeah, Shoftim is a din boiven shel chucha chokakti gezerah gazati. You come to a rov or you come to a bezdin, and you ask, what is the law, and what is you are choiker? What is the ruling of Torah in a certain inyan? So he just says what the ruling is, and the way it might come to you is like a gezerah almost. It's like the Torah paskins that way, and that's your problem if you don't understand it. Oh, but that's the way it is. Therefore, the shofet, he comes in a way that, he's beyond you altogether, and he decrees to you what is desirable for you, which means that he's like separate from you. So when you go to the shofet, the main emphasis is on the Matthias of the shofet, and your Matthias is not so important. He paskins whatever you go, and that's up to you. That's your problem to work out how to make it a practicality. However, a yoyet, he makes you the important thing. He becomes like a person who wants to serve you and help you, and you become important, and he becomes like not of great significance. He's trying to help you. So it comes out that by a shofet, the ikar emphasis is on the shofet, and your Matthias is not really all that important. By a yoyet, it's the other way around. He makes you very important, and he's just a messenger to get you over very important eitzes, practical advice in your life. So he says, "Shofet Pesach is adin boiven shel chucha chachati gezerah gazati." ובמילא אין משמעות למציאות של הנשפט. The person being judged, he's not of any great importance. האם הוא מבין או מקבל בסיקלה פסק דין או לא, that's not the business of the shofet. He said, "Leikein hayoyet shekol inyon hayu liya'etz la'odom chachava v'reya." How do you call like a friend and a good neighbor? But even sha'odom atzmei meivin ki ochen adov toiva v'roi. He understands. Oh, that's good for me. Why? Because the yoyetz made it make sense to him. The yoyetz is taking like a backseat in his inyonim, and he's making your inyonim for the yikah. So we see that that's like two different nuances altogether. But the shofet, he's the yikah, and with the yoyetz, you're the yikah. And he said, "Mashmois achilak b'pnimis ha'inyan." He said, how does that work in pnimius hadover? He said, "Ma'alosi shel ha'shofet hu b'kach yeshu omed l'mayla." He's in ha'oven shelo be'erech hanishpat. He's completely beyond you altogether. U'b'tzavosei alo, he says, "Yaseh u'manik lo b'kach b'pnimis ha'inyan nesinas koyach l'milei haroi." He said, if he's a emes or shofet in a hidden way, which is not obvious, his psak din is also a nesinas koyach. And here the Rebbe discusses once again a very amazing point. The Torah is not just even though the Torah itself particularly appears to be like a gezerah that just got to be makayim, but every prat in Torah is also a nesinas koyach. If the Torah tells you that you have to do that, that means that it's giving you the koyach also. Or it's being moiser to koyachs that you already have to enable you to keep it. So that when the shofet paskins in a ein arok way, he's not just coming with a gezer, he's also giving you a certain Nesinus Koya. However, he said, this Nesinus Koya in Eile Zu, or that very elevated Nesinus Koya, Eina Nasis Alidei Ayoyet, Awemet Bedarga Shova Lamekabala Eitzel. He said that Nesinus Koya is not given by the Yoyets, it's given by the Shovet. However, he says, Le'idok, Maile Gedela Yesh Bayoyet, Davke B'chak Shehu Oimed Be'erach La'adam. Davke that a Yoyet is close to you, and he's taking a personal yachas towards you. Shatzosei Chayderes U'Miskabeles B'pnimias. His Eiter penetrates into you, and you feel that you've gained something. He said, Shel ha'odam, b'shoyne mitzivui ha'shoyve, sha'odam omnam misnaheg l'maisakach, ach lav davki yeshu hu meiven u'mekabel es adova v'seikel u'bereges shaloi. The mile of the Yoyet says that he's on your level. And so the pshat is l'choyre, that alidei, what the Yoyet devotes himself to you, and he gives of his time and his effort to give you a eight according to your materials, he reveals the Nesinus Koya that's really hidden in what the Shevet did. It's just that when the Shevet said it, it's not begolui, but it's there. And Yoyet, he brings it out into Gil. He said, V'hagdoros adova evohu, he said, B'shoyvet hadkoshu hi metziusa shel ha-shoyvet. As we said before, the Ike is the principal Matthias of the Shevet. U'b'yoyet metziusa shel ha-makabel ha'et. Who is important? You. By the Shevet, he's important, not you. So he said, B'zehu al derech, b'dugmas achila shebein isaruza d'layela v'isaruza d'latata. It's one on in Chassidish doctrine that we have where you make an effort on your own, no matter la maila, or what is a giving no maila la mata. And a giving no maila la mata is not local kak miskabo b'pnimis ha'odam. But if he makes an isaruz d'latata, then he's more of a kli to be mikabo the isaruz d'leila. We saw a somewhat similar principle when they get to El last week. So therefore the Rebbe says that Uber Pratis Yeza Zeo al derech shnei asugim ubechinas b'siyuya mil maila. It's like two different types of divine assistance to the man. There's a divine assistance amagia midag and nailis ubein arok l'adam. It's beyond him altogether. That's b'dugmas ha-shoyvet. V'siyua ba'midaga ha-shayachas la'adam ha-choyda mislabish boi b'pnimiyas. Al derech ha-yoyet. There are two different ways in divine influence, no maila. One b'derech gezeda more, which is not shy to the other, and the other one which comes more of here, Matzia Shalom. That's the difference between Shevet and Yoyet. Says the Rebbe, now we'll understand also the difference. B'achilo shebenegel l'shoytim ne'ema aloshen kibar shoyno, ubenegel l'shoytrim aloshen kibat chilo. So the Rebbe says that why don't we say Oshiva Shoftayev Yotzayet Kirishoyna? Why do we say one Kirishoyna and the other Kivat Chila? So the Rebbe says the word Rishoyna, well, that's from the word Rosh. That's like something from way back and high and very shalom bearer. Either the word Chila is like the beginning of and even though when we say Rishon, we also imply the idea of a sheni, but he said the Indian of Rishon implies a hevdil shaloi loy be'era, not necessarily there's an intimate connection between the Rishon and the Sheni. But when you say Tchila, then you mean the beginning of a process. But that implies that that's like the beginning, and it's got a direct connection with the Hemshech. So therefore that's what the Rebbe says now. Ya'achilach yesh v'nei l'shoitim ne'ema aloshem k'varishoina u'v'negeh l'shoitrim aloshem k'vat tchila. Rishoina yehu koidam ascholas ha'inyan. Yeh rishon demi kora mashma. There's a lesson in the Gemara, Masechet Pesachim, Bayom HaRishon, we learn that's referring to not the Yom HaRishon Shel Chag, but to Yom Yudalet. Yeah, that's Erev Pesach. So therefore, Rishon is Mikora. Rishon is from way back. Mikora Mashma, Mashenken Tchila, Moirel Ascholas Ha'inyan B'Poyo. Actual practical connection between the beginning and the Hemshech. Olachein, Ayoyatayich, Ein B'Tachas Tchila. Shekein be'etzem nasinas ha'ita. In the etzem fact that he gives ha'ita, are mikivach ha'ita misamas etzel ha'lamakabel ha'ita, and he kvar matchilaina. He said, B'shas, you're talking with a good friend, and you hear from him ha'ita, you already see that the eita is a good eita. You're already forming in your mind how you're going to keep that eita. You're already sort of like part of the eita already. Even before he finishes talking, you're already forming in your mind a connection with the eita. Therefore, it uses the word metchila. Tchila means to begin. Omnam, he said, Shavtayich ina b'dara kavarishoina. Shekein le'acha nasinas ha'psak din zukukim l'shlav noiser. Kabbalah ha'psak din al yidei ha'nishbat. The nishbat's got to be makabel b'pnimis, and for that he needs eitzah, and that's the end of the yoyah. Or Mela, from that it follows that the word kavatchila indicates the beginning of a in, which already starts from the moment that the yoyat gives his it's already starting. Mashenken Shoifet is already he's moved on, nothing started yet. You just hear, but you need help to work out how he actually going to be able to do it. Amamela says the Rebbe that later on the Rebbe says that the perfection, that these are two different people. A Shoifet is one person, and a Yoyat is normally another person. In other words, you hear from a Rav or from a great figure, the Shoifet, what he says, and then you have the Yoyats to give you assistance, to bring it out of point. However, the Rebbe says there's a certain shleimas where you can have both kila together in one person. And you can have that he's a Shoifet, and yet he also goes down from his majesticness as a Shoifet, and he also involves himself in the simple necessities of his receivers or his Talmidim. So the Rebbe brings an example. You know the famous discussion with the Alter Rebbe, that the Alter Rebbe at one stage said that he in Tanya, in Geras HaKodesh, in chapter 22, he said, where do you ever hear this idea of asking eitzahs? People would go all the way to come, they come to me asking me eitzahs. I don't have any time and I've had enough of all the, you know the famous. So the Alter Rebbe Kilo was saying that his job is a Shoifet. He's only to give the guidance. Your Tzim has to be, he can't spend the time being both. And yet, nonetheless, after that, we find that he didn't stop answering. He just complained about the situation. Now, by the Rebbe, there was a similar Indian, another whole story, that after the Ishtalchus of the Rebbetzin, the Rebbe made a sikha in in 770. The Rebbe made a whole secret that you've got to be very careful not to put two jobs onto one person, to make him both the Shevet and the Yoyet together. And so the Rebbe said that from now on, he wants people should ask Rabbonim, and if it's a question about business, they should ask understanders to Mevinim, and they should go here and they should ask this one and that one, and they shouldn't pepper him endlessly with letters about eitzes. It's all Shochiro Gavilon, it's black and white. There's a sichel in the Rebbe. And yet, nonetheless, we don't find that the Rebbe stopped answering. There are a whole series of amazing answers from the Rebbe on notes, and that the people wrote it even after that. There's a simon that a Rebbe has to, at a certain point, make a makor. Yes, he has to, for some reason, as a word, complain. Although ultimately he's got to be, remember, he's got to fit the bill to be both. He's both the Shevet and the Yoyet. Oh, Amamela, the Rebbe says we have another factor now called Nebuah. So he said Nebuah, that's shy more to Yoyet. A Novi is somebody that he comes and gives also warnings and specific aids, don't do this and do this. And a Novi is somebody that he busies himself with the personal necessities of the generation in a very real and demanding fashion. A Mamela, a Shevet, is not necessarily a Novi. A Yoyet is for sure a Novi, or a Novi is for sure a Yoyet. So that indicates that the Yotzenu is also referring to Nebuah. It's also getting involved in the infant Nebuah. A Mamela Horshiva Shoftenu, that's Rabbonim and Poiskim, or what you might call the Rebbe part of a Rebbe. Over the Novi part of a Rebbe, that's another aspect that he has to fulfill, and that's the union of Yoyet. A Yoyet and a Novi, go together. So then the Rebbe brings what I told you about, how the Rambam writes about certain people that they were Nevi'im, and the Rebbe goes into a huge aritas that the Nebuah never really stopped. How do you go? The Nebuah has always been there, like we discussed at the beginning of the season. And then the Rebbe said that all of our Rebbeim, beginning from the Alter Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid, that they were all Nevi'im. They were all Emes and Nevi'im, and they were both Shoftim and Nevi'im and Yoyetim together. And therefore we find that the Baal Shem Tov used to go around, and the Rebbe brings a quote from the Sefer Chakira, the Tzemach Tzedek. There's an amazing statement that Tzemach Tzedek says about the Baal Shem Tov, and he says it's never been seen since the days of the Nevi'im, Mamish, by Israel, a person like the Baal Shem Tov. He says he was just, beyond all his grasp of all the necessary situations to better the whole picture of the Jewish people was absolutely divine. And everything, the Tzemach Tzedek writes about the Baal Shem Tov. So the Baal Shem Tov he was a Shevet, but he was a Novi, and he was a Yoyet. That a Novi and a Yoyet, they sort of fit together. The Shleim is when you have both, like we said. Well, that's the union of both of those koiches, and the Rebbeim, all of our Rebbeim, they were the union of those two koiches, and they were Shoftim, they were Shalom Be'erah to the people, but on the other hand, they had the amazing koich coming down to the people, and that was the end of a Nebuah, and through their Nebuah, they gave all of their eitzah. And that's what, if you look carefully in that letter from the Alter Rebbe says he doesn't want to give eitzahs anymore, because he said eitzahs is only shy to Nevi'im. That's what he writes. he said, I don't want to be busy with that. Yeah, he said, because that's only for Nevi'im. That's why he writes the Alter Rebbe over there. So we see from that the Alter Rebbe says clearly that the Emes HaYoyat, to give Emes HaEitzes, is really a Koyach HaNevuah. The Alter Rebbe says it clearly. And then afterwards, he still went on ahead with it. Im Kain, he was a Shoivet and also a Novi. And the Rebbe said the middle Rebbe, for sure, on all the Rebbeim. He goes through all the Rebbeim and he shows clearly how they all fitted this pattern of being both Shoivet and having the mindless of both together. And then he says that ever since the Baal Shem Tov, Nevuah has become, as he called a day-to-day factor in Jewish life, through the Be'ikah, through the Nasiya, through the Rebbe. It's become and that's what he said, that fits in with what I said at the beginning about what the Rambam says, that Nevuah is always, he never went away. So the Rebbe says, that's what the Rambam means, that the Nevuah has come back. He means it's just more like it was in the old days. It's the whole time. There was a time when maybe it was a bit difficult, but it never really went away. Avamela just prepares us, the Rebbe says at the end, Avamela, my father-in-law, he's the Novi of our generation. That's what he says. And the Rebbe says it's provable from all sorts of sides and all sorts of inyonim. Avamela, he's the forerunner of Mashiach, and therefore he says that everything's ready and everything. And he pasket all the because he's the last, usage of the Nevuah. But the Rambam says that it's going to be like when it becomes really renewed, that's going to be the beginning of the time of Mashiach. So therefore, since the Friedrich Rebbe indicated this whole gift of the Nevuah so perfectly, well, that's the beginning of the period of Moshiach. And then the Rebbe said that a Novi, you said about another person, he's a Novi. The other person's a Novi. So it's moved on to the next generation. That's what the Rebbe says. It's moved on to the next generation. Of Amela, everything is ready. We got the Yotzenu, we got the Shoftim, and it's all been Mekuyam. So we have to have the Gula Shlema, the Apapayim Mamiv, and the Rebbe says you shouldn't be hesitant, but you must go around and say to people that we have Nevi'im. That's what the Rebbe says. That's what he says. Right towards the end of it, at a Sikha, that you must be openly ready to spread the message. And therefore this Sikha is like a poem in the middle of a quiet day, The Rebbe shook the world. I remember when the Rebbe actually said this, I was in Australia at that time. I was leaving on my way back to Eretz or Italy. I used to already get prepared to go back for the Yom Tov. But just the last few days before I left, on that Shabbat, the Rebbe said, and even in those days it weren't all the, computers like they are developed today, but it got over very quick. It made its way out, all the way out to Australia very quick. And people were walking around. So I saw, in the shul people were talking. So I said to Rabbi Groma, I said to him, what's going on? He said, the Rebbe has dropped a bombshell. I remember he saying those words. He said, the Rebbe has dropped a bombshell. He said, Nevuah. He said, you must study this Sikha very carefully before you go back to Eretz. Yeah. So here we are, guys. How does the old saying have it? You wanted it, so you got it. It's an absolutely amazing, Sikha. It's so direct and so frank, you know, the Rebbe just comes up. So, and he builds the whole time on the Rambam. He shows how the Rambam said all of these things. Remember, he said, if you got any questions, you have any problems, then you have to go to the Rambam or to Yeshaya Novi. Yeah. Hashem Shalom, taking me out, Mami. We should, we're holding by the Gula Shlema, we have to have it before.
You can have a Geula Barachamim and a Geula B'Gvura. Is it still possible to have a Geula B'Gvura?
The Rebbe has forgotten about the Geula B'Gvura.
No way?
No way, only Rahman. Only Rahman. It's, and even, I saw from the Rebbe Pinchas Balaflor, the Alter Rebbe's Chova, I saw him a Sefer. He said even the Satan, even he agrees with that. Because he said if you take the word sin, test, nun, and take the oisias akoidmi, take the oisias before each one, is reish, ches, mem. A reish, ches, mem is rachem. Even he, if he goes a bit before himself, then he agrees that it has to be Barachamim. You follow? Yeah. Only Racham. And even the SA, he agrees.
Because there was like Rabbi Shach, he wanted Gula